Hi everyone, I'm Samir, presenting on behalf of Team D. Our assignment is to focus on a learning organization, and we've picked Pixar as our example. So, what actually makes a learning organization? A learning organization is a place where employees excel at creating, acquiring, and transferring knowledge in a very seamless fashion. The three building blocks of such institutions include a supportive learning environment, concrete learning processes and practices, and reinforcing leadership behavior. So let's have a look at Pixar and how does Pixar actually perform as a learning organization. First of all, the most important element for the supportive learning environment is a element of psychological safety, where mistakes are to be celebrated and are received to be a part of innovation. Pixar believes that the core skill of innovators is not error avoidance, but rather error recovery. Punishing failure stifles innovation. Instead, celebration of failure is an essential element in finding solutions. What is really interesting at Pixar is when its employees make bigger errors, they actually throw big parties, almost as if it's a huge achievement. This encourages really determined exuberance and fosters flexible minds in a no fear ambience. It's really, really important as well to appreciate the differences and collaborate between different teams. Pixar always believes in the notion that you should accept any offer made to you from any other team and run with the ball that they've just handed you over, and your biggest objective is to make your partner look good. There's all kinds of people working inside Pixar and all kinds of different teams which normally tend to compete on the other corporate structures. However, in Pixar, there is an atmosphere which each group views the other as its most crucial collaborator. Collaborative opinion sessions are a regular feature at Pixar. Directors and the creative teams often show their work to gatherings, and other employees were absolutely free to say what they think. And they can either listen or ignore this advice, but they can't escape the opinion sessions. That leads to a very open environment where people share ideas and work together really well. Talking about this open sharing ideas and having open communication, critique, feedback, and independence of creatives really helps Pixar help all its employees grow. There is no fear at all of sounding stupid, and any person presenting any new project or idea always knows that he's going to get feedback from multiple different perspectives. Creatives also learn how to defend their own viewpoints, and it leads to knowledge being shared in a very systematic and clearly defined way. Moving on to the second part of what makes a learning organization, it needs to have very concrete learning processes. Pixar has a lot of open areas for discussion, and Pixar University forms a big part of the life on the campus, known as Habitat. Every week, all employees are encouraged to spend at least 4 hours learning new skill sets. Pixar puts a lot more importance on building a portfolio of skills rather than a promise of a resume. The courses taught by Pixar University is taught by recognized experts and cover a broad range of topics, from drawing to improvisation to self-defense. Pixar really believes that smarter, well-rounded employees are more creative and more innovative. Not only does it focus on, not only does it enable sharing of ideas through open spaces, it also actively encourages that both internally and externally. Externally, especially by selecting purchasers or suppliers who match Pixar in flexibility and forward thinking, thus becoming real allies and becoming real world testers for even the wildest notions that employees at Pixar tend to have. And this internal and external flow of ideas has proved very beneficial for Pixar. Moving on to the third pillar, which is reinforcing leadership behavior. Pixar believes in absolutely flat hierarchy and real feedback solicitation, where top down communication improves morale and increases productivity. Anytime the CEO asks for feedback, he really wants to listen rather than just pay lip service. This leads to both creative as well as business oriented decision making, where all the employees feel a lot more empowered and a lot more involved, thereby prompting dialogue, debate, and encouraging all the people in the institution to learn. Furthermore, Pixar's founders have survived various adventures with various corporate overlords, especially bottom line obsessed, hidebound bureaucratic Disney. Managers in Pixar always encourage their staffers to overreach, to try new ideas and techniques. Employees know that the company trusts them. Their goal is to fail while reaching for the stars, to gain knowledge from the failure, and to rise up and try again. Pixar raises risk taking to really an art. Its principles for risk taking and creating a try, learn, and try again culture have really enabled it to perform exceptionally well. So, we've talked a lot about what makes Pixar a learning organization. Now, let's see how it performs. As all of us know, Disney is a much bigger organization. Disney Animation Studios outsizes Pixar almost by three times, and they have, they have massive economies of scale because of the other brands and products that Disney holds. However, if you look at the performance from 1995 all the way to 2010, Pixar has absolutely dominated Disney. Not only that, the movies and the characters that Pixar has released are a lot more complex, a lot more involved, and find a lot more resonance with a broader part of the population rather than just children centric movies coming out of Disney. Moving on, let's see what the story of Disney and Pixar has been. This is a really short movie clip made by Pixar, sort of like a parody, displaying what the relationship between Disney and Pixar has been and how it has evolved. So, as we start out, we notice there is a playing field, which is digital animation, displayed here as wires. Disney sort of shows up there, tries to figure out, hey, what's going on? Is this a good place to stand? You have a couple of Disney executives starting to get cozy down there, and because there's pretty much nobody else, some internal bickering starts out. But one way or the other, they do collectively take over this entire space of digital animation. And suddenly they notice this ugly looking weird bird who wants to join in the game as well. And they decide this is like the stupidest thing ever. In fact, Jeffrey Katzenberg had decided that if Pixar ever made Disney movies, its feature animation team would not be involved. And in fact, it took Pixar a lot of hard negotiations to strike a three-movie deal, and on terms which are really, really favorable to Disney rather than to Pixar. However, Pixar didn't give up. Despite giving up a lot of creative control, it still tried to make a difference and started to make movies. And despite Disney's animated efforts, only Pixar's movies were thriving. But this also led to a lot of tensions between Eisner, who was the CEO of Disney, and Steve Jobs. And of course, Disney executives never really looked favorably upon Pixar. So you had a lot of situations where Disney would actually actively work at undermining Pixar's achievements. This is kind of a funny depiction of what can happen after that. As Disney kept picking away and trying to force Pixar into its own ways of doing things, some executives realized that may not be a very good thing for Disney. The question is that warning too late now? Uh-oh. Because Pixar is probably going to go and get back up on its feet. Whereas Disney may not be that lucky in the future. In fact, Disney and Disney executives might need Pixar a lot more than Pixar needs Disney. But going back into the real world again and looking at these two organizations, what's really striking is that they're extremely different organizations. Although Walt Disney bought Pixar in 2006 with a swap of 287 million shares, the question to be asked is, does it really make sense in the future for two organizations who are so different? If you notice, in the previous graph that we showed, Pixar's movies actually grossed more than twice what Disney's movies did in the same period. But when you look at the mission statement, there is no word profitable. It's all about technology, world-class creative talent, creating memorable characters and heartwarming stories. Disney, on the other hand, is a lot more focused on the production process with producers and providers of entertainment and information, using their portfolio of brands to differentiate and creating profitable entertainment experiences. This definitely looks like a clash of cultures and especially stifling for a learning organization for like Pixar. What has actually happened after this merger or this marriage? A lot of critics feel that Disney has actually started poisoning Pixar's internal environment. A lot of the good talent at Pixar is starting to leave, whether to join DreamWorks or to start their own shop. Mars Needs Moms was the first Pixar release to really bomb, and Cars 2, which was a sequel to the really successful Cars series, only 38% of critics liked it on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's really shabby showing for Pixar, and these are the latest ideas and feature films coming out of Pixar. Question to be asked here for the future is, despite its strength as a learning organization now being part of a much more rigid corporate structure, will Pixar really be able to thrive? Thanks a lot for giving us your time. I hope you had an enjoyable presentation and looking forward to the discussion after this.